Hello, everyone. This is Jennifer. Right now, I would like to talk to, I will call them the wobblers. And by wobblers, I mean anyone who is currently in a relationship with a covert narcissist, who is aware of the situation, who, for the most part, knows exactly what's going on, but who might still be questioning, should I stay or should I go? Okay. So if you happen to be a wobbler, and if you're thinking these things, you might ask yourself, does he love me? Did he ever love me? Does he care? Did he ever care? These questions, you might try to find answers for these. You might have excuses. You might try to think of anything that, well, he did do that, or, that one time. And you might be grasping at anything that you can hold on to as an excuse to stay in this relationship. And I don't mean that as a knock against you, but I think we've all been there in the situation because it is, nobody wants to give up, right? Especially if you've put so much time into it. It's hard to let these things go. And you want to believe in the best of somebody. You want to believe that this person genuinely loves and cares about you, and that's natural. But if you're asking these questions, does he love me? Did he love me? Does he care? Did he care? There's just one answer for that, and the answer is no. I don't even need 45 minutes to go into that. And as you're grasping at any reason or explanation, if you're looking back on your memory, trying to think of the good things and, good memories, I just ask that you be truthful to yourself and try to see it the way that it really was. Because, and I say this, that they didn't love you and care about you. I don't mean to be mean at all, but the truth is, like covert narcissists, they just are not able to love in that way. They love you as far as pretty much whatever they can use you for, and that's, I was trying to find nice terminology, but there isn't. They just deplete you of all your resources, and you're probably feeling drained, probably feeling more and more drained in every emotionally, physically, psychologically, mentally. You're probably exhausted more so and more so every day. And I just ask that you be honest with yourself as you look back and see things for the way that they really are and the way that they were. And the fact is that these people, they don't have empathy. That's very important in any relationship, a friendship. That's like such an important basis, foundation for the relationship. You need somebody who cares, who understands you, who wants to be friends with somebody who, has no emotions, who doesn't actually care about you, who doesn't listen to you, or who wants that? Who would genuinely sign up for that? Nobody, right? You only do it if you think sign up for those things because you don't know. You thought they did have emotions. You thought they did care, but no one would willingly jump into those kind of relationships, right? So the lack of empathy and caring and all that, I mean, you just can't have anything that's real based on those things. And for example, I have this memory, and it's like a 10-second memory that rings in my head when I think of how little this person cared for me. And in these 10 seconds, I was so confused, but they are obvious now what it meant. And I was sitting in my living room, just letting you know, and I had just found out that my dad had cancer. And he's getting ready for work. He walks into the living room, and I look at him, and it turns out that it was nothing serious, but all I heard was the word cancer, right? And I'm freaking out, and I'm very emotional. And I look at him, I say, Bob, like, I just found out my dad has cancer, expecting to be consoled in some way. And he looks at me with his lunchbox as he's carrying it. He says, that's no bueno. And he looks at me. I mean, he said these words, "That's no bueno." And he stared at me for like 3 or 4 seconds. I remember looking at him like, and I wanted to kind of put my hand in front of his face, wave it, and just be like, are you there? Are you? But that's the extent of it. He said, "That's no bueno," and then stared at me and left, never to ask me about it again, never to inquire. Hey, now a normal person, a normal man who loves someone in a relationship would, "Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that. What happened?" Inquire about it, to ask about it, to see how you're feeling and you're doing. And he didn't do that. And that at that moment, I remember feeling shocked, like I'm looking at him and like no one was home, no one was there. And this is 10 seconds of that I remember clearly in this relationship that was several years long. And that's very important. That moment is so important. And I wish I would have, I can say that I could have not wasted all those years. But it's true, because it's moments like that that tell who this person really is. Because they will only care about you to the extent that it helps them, as long as you give them the supply. Because I think you'll realize, if you really think about it, they don't actually care about you if it's only about you. They have to be involved in somehow. If it affects them, they will be involved. They'll be right there. They'll care. But never when it's about you. You'll just get the generic responses, and that's why there's so much confusion, because you're like, he says this, but why don't I feel it? And you don't feel it because they don't have those feelings. They're incapable. And even if, let's say they do something wrong, let's say it's clearly their fault, it will always turn around on you. It doesn't matter how wrong they were or how 100% incorrect they were or at fault. They will never accept blame. Even their I guess their apology is generic at best. Otherwise, you will still be blamed for their problems. And this will only drain you more and more throughout the relationship. And for example, and this could be on any level, whether it's large or small, it's still very effective and detrimental. But at one point, my ex-narc, I call him Bob, he had borrowed my car for a couple of days to go to work because his was in the shop. And with my vehicle, the gas gauge was not working, so you had to reset it every time. And when it got to 250, you had to fill it up and then start it at 0, okay? So I told him this many times. I'm like, make sure. And at this point, when he borrowed my car, 2 days he had borrowed it for, it was like 125 miles. But I'm thinking that he had done this, right? That he had, because I had told him many times, please don't forget to put the gas in the car and change the gauge to say 0, and we'll start it over at 250. But I'm driving home from work, and on a very busy freeway, like 100-degree weather, and my windows, the window, moving it up and down, it didn't work, so it was constantly shut. But on this day, my car just started to, it's breaking down, and I break down on the middle of a very busy, dangerous freeway, and I'm like, is that my battery? And I was like, no, it couldn't be the gas, right? I can't be out of gas. I had told him many times. And I thought, it was the gas. And I was stuck there. I'm like, I had to call AAA to come and get me. I waited 35 minutes in 100-degree weather. I couldn't even open my door or anything because I was so close to it was already dangerous as it is. So I'm sweating bullets. And as I'm waiting for the tow truck, I called Bob and I was like, did you put gas in the car? And he's like, oh, I forgot. And I'm like, my God, like I'm in the middle of the road. I was like, you didn't put gas in my car. I was like, I am stuck. And this one time I did say, you need to apologize. Like, don't you feel bad? Like I'm in the middle of the freeway because you didn't put gas in my car. And he didn't respond to that. Like, he laughed a little bit. He goes, no, I didn't mean to. He didn't even really verbalize anything other than like giggling and like just pushing it aside. And when I hung up, I thought, wow, like what a douche. But I get towed and I go home, and not only does he not apologize, he doesn't feel bad at all, but he doesn't even inquire. I'm an hour and a half late because I had to get towed, and then I had to make sure I had to take the vehicle to an auto shop to sit there afterwards because I had no air, storage in my lot at that time. Long story, but so I'm an hour and a half late. He doesn't ask like what happened. Like it's like I never told him in the first place, and he never apologized. And I just, that is the most ridiculous thing to accept, right? And at another time when he had borrowed my car, he was at his bar and he calls me at maybe 2 in the morning and he's broke down because there's no gas in the car. And I'm mad at him at this point. This is like, I mean, there's been like 3 times that this has happened, but this time I was like, I told you to put gas in the car. When it gets to 250, put gas in the car. What is wrong with you? And he tells me, the gas gauge said 247. Just like that. And I was thinking, like, seriously? It's my fault because of 3 miles. This is what he's saying. But that's how it was, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't take any responsibility. In fact, he tried to move this on me. So I just want you to think about these things. And also, the last thing for the Wobblers, please consider it. If your daughter were to come to you with this problem, if she were in the exact same situation, what would you tell her? What would you tell her? Would you tell her to stick with it? Hang in there, it's already been forever? Or would you tell her to walk away, that she deserves better? Just for your consideration. Thank you.